So if you're watching this video, you should have finished your mid-unit review and now you're checking your answers with this answer key. Make sure you get them correct. Make sure you understand what you're doing. If you don't understand why you got something wrong, make sure you mark it so that we can ask questions later. But this is just a review based on all the 3 lessons we've gone over so far. A translation, remember, is that slide. We're gonna slide it according to our rule, x minus 2, y plus 5. Minus 2 is left 2 because it's on the x-axis. Y plus 5 is up 5 because it's on the y-axis. Take each point, start with A, move it left 2, up 5. And then we call it A prime, and then mark where that is. It's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5, 2. B prime, left 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up. Call it B prime. That's at negative 4, 0. And same for C. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C prime, that's at negative 6, 0. And then connect your shape. Your shape should be the same size and orientation as your original because it's just a translation. A reflection across the y-axis. So let's find the y-axis. I'm going to highlight it. This is where I'm going to flip my image over it. A is 2 units away, so I'm going to go from my line of reflection 2 units the other direction, A prime, negative 2, 0. B is 1 to 4 units away from that line, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 units the other direction, call it B prime, negative 4, negative 2. And C, reflect that across, call it C prime, negative 2, negative 4, and then make that triangle. It is a flipped image of that original. And last, we have a 180-degree counterclockwise rotation. So counterclockwise, 180 is 2 quadrants. And, you know, I've talked about this. You might be able to visualize that rotation and making sure you get all of your points in the right spot. But if you're not sure, I like to start with 1 or 2. And I'm actually gonna start with D. And I'm gonna just apply my rule. I know this rule just says, if I start with X, Y, I'm gonna get the opposite of X, opposite of Y. So D is currently at the point 2, 1. And so this tells me my new D prime is gonna be at negative 2, negative 1. So I actually figured out this point before I figured out the rotation, just because my brain doesn't always visualize that turn. So now I know if this goes to here, A, I'm assuming is gonna be right there, but I'm gonna double check. A prime, let's see, A is currently at 2, 4. That tells me my new A, or A prime, is gonna be at negative 2, negative 4. Negative 2, negative 4, and I got that in the right spot. And from here, I can just kind of recreate the image. C is 1, 2, 3 units away. 1, 2, 3 is C prime. And then finish out that rectangle with B prime. And then relist my points. C prime is at 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 5, negative 1. And B prime is negative 5, negative 4. Oh, negative 3, actually, because I miscounted, and A prime is only down negative 3 as well because I miscounted on all of those. So all those 4 should have been 3s. I'm sorry about that. Number 4 is a reflection across the X. I don't have an image for this one, so I just need to know the rule. I know that a reflection across the X, so think about if we look at the one above, it's over this line. My Y value changes. X stays the same, Y becomes opposite. So I'm only changing my Y values. My X's are just gonna get recopied. So A prime would be 2, Y is opposite of 1, which is negative 1. 0 is just 0, so it stays. And C prime is 3, and then the opposite of negative 3 would be positive 3. And then last one on the front side, we have a translation. And we just have to apply this rule to all our points. Every x value gets plus 4. So I'm going to go through and add 4. So I have 5, 2 plus 4 is 6, 4 plus 4 is 8, 4 plus 4 is 8. And then I'm going to subtract 4 on the y. So I have negative 4, finish it out, 0, oops, I didn't need a parenthesis in there, negative 1, and negative 1 minus 4 brings me all the way down to negative 5. For numbers 6 and 7, I am simply trying to tell me what happened. So the transformation is a translation, a reflection, or a rotation. And then I need to come up with the rule. The rule can either be in words or in coordinate rule notation like we've been practicing. And I'll show you both. I see for this one, it kind of looks like a mirrored image, which I think it is. So I can see here's my line of reflection, and it's been a reflection. And so our formal rule, we have to figure out what kind of axis is this. It flipped over the x, so that means all of my y's became opposite. That's the formal rule. But if you say it's a reflection over the x-axis, that would also be okay. It's just not the best answer, but I would still accept that. And then number 7, we don't have a graph to look at, so I'm looking for patterns. 1 to negative 1. So let's look at all of my x's. Oh. My x went from 1 to negative 3 and 4 to negative 5 and 4 to negative 1. And then look at your y's. I'll tell you right now, this first point really tricked me. So I'm going to actually ignore that when writing the rest of my rule. But with the rest of these, B, C, and D, I notice a pattern a little more. I notice, I'm going to write it right in my rule. I started with X, Y, and then what happened is they flipped my numbers around. So instead of 1, 3, it became 3, 1. And then I also noticed these first numbers all became negative. So I'm going to put a negative sign in front of that Y. And if I go back through my notes, I can see this is a rotation. And I know this rotation is 90 degrees counterclockwise, or CCW. So rotation is the transformation. This 90-degree counterclockwise could be an okay rule, but this coordinate notation is our best rule. And then lastly, number 8 is more of our advanced question, and it's a multi-part question. It says, without graphing, that's our key, we can't graph it, perform the following sequence of transformations on these vertices. Write the coordinates of the new image after each transformation. So we are going to do we're going to go to step 1, and then due to these tick marks, we know, or we can assume, then what we're going to do is we're going to take step 1 to step 2, then we're going to take our answer from step 2 to step 3 to come up with the final solution. So let's go back and look at step 1. It says reflect over the x. I know that rule. If I reflect over the x, the y's are going to change. So I'm going to change all my y's to opposite, keep the x's. So I'm going to have 6, negative 3, 7, negative 2, and negative 1, negative 3. Now, with my new stuff in green, I need to rotate counterclockwise 270 degrees. So that rule, x, y, I'm going to flip my y and my x, and my x's become opposite. So I'm going to flip numbers around. Negative 3 is 6, and the second number becomes opposite. Negative 2, 7, negative 7, negative 3, negative 1, and that 1's going to become positive. And then lastly, a translation. Subtract 4 and add 5. So minus 4 plus 5, minus 4 plus 5, minus 4 plus 5. Just writing it underneath, and I'm going to rewrite my coordinates. Negative 7, negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. Negative 6 and negative 2, negative 7 and 6. And there we have it. We're going from one to the next and to the next.